Well, welcome to the Middlesex Moments radio show. I'm Dr. Anna Wasesha, president of Middlesex Community College, and today my guests are Marcella Trowbridge and Dick Wheeler, who together are responsible for Artfarm, along with, I'm sure, your very loyal and hardworking board.
Yes.
But the two of you are the titular heads, shall we say?
Right.
We should use lots of words with long, many syllables today, because we're going to be talking about Shakespeare, who is famous for things like iambic pentameter.
Absolutely.
Right. And we won't have a quiz right now about exactly how you would, meter out those feet in a phrase. But nonetheless, what we're talking about is this fantastic project you have called Shakespeare on Campus, which is an evolution of your being on campus with Shakespeare every year for how many years?
8, I believe.
I think this will be the
I
eighth
think this
year.
is the 8th
Yep.
season. Yep.
2006, we did Midsummer Night's Dream, and been doing it ever since, every summer.
I wish I had been here to see that. That's one of, I think they're all my favorites, but that's really a great one. And what a perfect one for outdoors.
It really is. I think one of the reasons behind a choice like A Midsummer Night's Dream is it's so accessible. The storyline is understandable, it's playful, it's fun, there's love, there's confusion, there's, cross paths, and again, the environment here, making the choice to have Artfarm's Shakespeare in the Grove production here on campus. Part of what makes it so magical is truly the Grove. We looked at a number of sites in the Middletown area before coming to an agreement with Middlesex back in 2006. And part of what really swayed us towards being here on the Middlesex Community College campus is this magical grove that is behind, the campus is very busy, it's full of life, it's full of students, it's a commuter campus, so there are a lot of folks from a lot of different backgrounds and ages that come here. But unless you're here on campus, you really wouldn't know that there is this spectacular outdoor setting that's really perfect for performance. So if you're sitting in the audience and you're to the right of you, there's a beautiful forest. In front of you, there's a line of 16 cedar trees that are behind the performers. And then off to your left, as you look away, there's the Connecticut River Valley. It's spectacular. People who have been audience members have actually come to us and brought us photographs of sunsets that they were watching during the show that sometimes, in all honesty, upstage the actors in a delightful way. It's been really nice. And so Midsummer was certainly supported by this magical environment.
Yeah. So, we probably have to take a break relatively soon, but just so we can keep the audience interested in what we're going to talk about next, what's the play this summer?
We are doing, and this is just freshly announced, is Much Ado About Nothing. And, Much Ado, some people know it and love it, and then there are a lot of folks who maybe haven't encountered it. I mean, I think so often, particularly in high school and early college, you experience Romeo and Juliet, Macbeth, Othello, Hamlet, and this is just another leap. It's fun. There are a number of characters who are really important, but at the heart are Beatrice and Benedict. I think it's one of the reasons people go to this play again and again, because they have this repartee, this very witty, playful relationship, and we're really looking forward to. We have a phenomenally talented company of artists. We're so blessed in that way at Artfarm. But bringing this company out into this grove to share this really fun, family-friendly, witty comedy is exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting to me too, because I love Shakespeare. Well, let's take a break and we'll come back and we'll really dig. Okay, well, welcome back. I'm talking with Marcella and Dick Wheeler, Marcella Trowbridge of Artfarm, and we're talking about Shakespeare on campus. So let's see, which way do we want to go? It's not just the play, which is at the end of July.
That's right. The play is kind of the culmination of 6 months of all kinds of activities on campus where Shakespeare's really going to be all over the place.
Man about town. Well, what kinds of things are you going to do?
Well, already we started a Shakespeare acting laboratory, which is a class that Marcella is teaching. It's an 8-week class open to the public, but hosted here at the college, and which is really a Shakespeare acting class. And she had her first class last week, had 10 students, I think, and has a great group. I don't know if you want to.
Well, it's
Yeah.
exciting, and there are so many other things happening on campus. But it's funny. And in the beginning, you said, "Well, we're not going to quiz on how you scan a line of verse for iambic pentameter," but that's exactly what we've started off doing. It's exciting. It's a very on your feet class, because I do believe that Shakespeare is meant to be in your body and spoken aloud. It's a wonderful thing to read, but when you experience it like alive and with people who have taken the time to really understand and grapple with what the meaning is and are effective communicators, I think that's where it's magic. So I think it's one of our goals with Shakespeare on campus is to demystify Shakespeare, to dust off the tomes. I mean, I think so many of us, when we first encounter Shakespeare, it's intimidating, and the language, it can seem obtuse, it can be confusing and dense, but there are ways in, and that's where we get really excited. And so things like the Shakespeare Acting Laboratory, but also bringing some of the work that we do into some of the English classes here on campus, and being able to share some of these bits of knowledge and tools, but ideally seeds of passion for this kind of work. And again, partly because I think at Artfarm we really believe in theater as a tool for the reflection of the human condition, and I think that's why we continue to choose Shakespeare, because I feel like that's at the essence of what he does, with rhetorical devices and verse and rhythm and all of those things that are tools and that are helpful, but I think it's really about the human condition. So certainly the Shakespeare Acting Lab we're doing, be in some English classes on campus. I think even maybe you could talk about, I think even the library is getting involved.
That's right. There's going to be a library exhibit in April on sort of Shakespeare in our world, looking at how Shakespeare visits us these days, just in our lives, in our language, in our literature, and the movies, and the library is putting that together. So I don't know a lot about the details of that, but that's something to look forward to in April.
Isn't that his birthday as well?
That's right.
Yeah.
April 23rd or 24th is
Depending.
Shakespeare's birthday. I think they have a christening or baptism certificate, but no birth certificate for him. So that's
The
why
birther movement is going to go crazy about that. How do we know he was really British?
That's right. He was born in Kenya.
Hawaii.
Yeah.
But and also I am an adjunct instructor here, and I teach an Acting 1 class, and this semester and in the summer session we're having kind of a special focus on Shakespeare, where we're doing scenes from Shakespeare, just doing more Shakespeare in the class than we normally would in an average semester, just trying to expose the students in the class to Shakespeare, make it accessible to them, get them excited about it so that they might want to come and see the show this summer, get involved in our Shakespeare Slam in May, which we'll talk about that too. And
The slam. I want to hear about the slam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a
The
cool thing.
Slam is a very interesting event. It is a fundraiser that helps to support the possibility of doing something like Shakespeare in the Grove here on campus, because it is a professional production. But it was really, I will say, it was the brainchild of Dick. Originally, it was called the Shakespeare Sonnet Slam. So the first year that we did the slam, it was all sonnets, and now you have the option of doing different selections of Shakespeare. How it works is anybody can perform. We have people who, from children, we had 6-year-old twins one year perform, all the way through young pre-professionals, community actors, amateurs, literary lovers, to professionals. And what they do is select, ideally, a minute or so of Shakespeare, and they go to sort of like a walkathon, go and solicit sponsorship so that they can perform. And there's a minimum sponsorship to be able to perform. And there are great incentives for people who raise the most money, like a week in a cabin in Nova Scotia, so whoever raises the most money is then entered into raffles to win some larger incentives. But it's fun. This year we're having a masked ball. There is a masked ball in Much Ado About Nothing, which is partly where that was inspired. So again, the idea that it's It's community-based in terms of anyone can participate. It's exciting in terms of watching these short snippets of performances from different backgrounds. But we also do things like we get donations of food and drink, and it's really a fun party, really. But at the heart of it are these performances, and again, it is a fundraiser.
Mm-hmm.
And where's it going to be?
It's going to be at Kid City this year, which is a children's museum in downtown Middletown, and we've done it there 2 out of 3 times so far, and it is just very charming for this because it is a quirky space that's made for kids, has a lot of different spaces, and the idea of having an adult party in a kid's space just adds a real charm to it. It's also not that big, so it gets pretty crowded, which kind of gives us this Elizabethan groundlings, we're all crushed into the globe.
No tomatoes.
So it is somewhere between the Globe Theater in the Elizabethan era and a loft in Greenwich Village. That you've got this quality of just being kind of crowded and full of people having fun. There's also music. There's kind of Shakespeare-oriented activities.
What kind of music?
Usually we try to go for more traditional, like old music.
Stringed instruments.
Uh-huh.
And it's a way also, I think, being at Kid City will be bringing the community or the campus to the community. Well, and that is sort of an exciting part of this as well, with this Shakespeare on Campus initiative, having this fundraiser sort of in the middle of it. We're really excited about better integrating and deepening our relationship with the college, and it feels we're so appreciative to you, Anna. We feel so well received. We've felt like over the years it's been a good sort of win-win, fun situation where we've been able to bring this work here to the campus and bring more people to the campus that might not have known what a gem we have right here in central Connecticut in Middlesex County. Honestly, when we talk to people about it, people know that we've been up here for all of these years, but doing things like going into the English classes, having the opportunity to have a library display, having the opportunity to have, Dick, your class shift and focus on Shakespeare. In fact, I think we're doing Shakespeare in the afternoon, collaborating with the English department here. Just a little bit of a, celebration again during that month of Shakespeare's birthday.
It's April 15th. That will be in the afternoon.
Yeah.
Here on campus in the lounge. Where
here in Founders Hall?
Yep, that's right. Here in Founders Hall in the student lounge. And that'll be hosted by the English department. There'll be some performances of Shakespeare. There'll be some food, a little music. We haven't quite worked out the details, but it's just sort of, again, Shakespeare's birthday month and finding ways to celebrate, raise awareness, hopefully get some of the English faculty out reading some Shakespeare, which should be fun.
That would be great. And they've got a whole stash of paraphernalia. I think there's a Kleenex box that is made of the bard's face, and you pull the tissue out of the nose or something like that.
Yeah.
I was impressed. We had a career, what can you do with a major in kind of career fair, and I went to their table and I didn't know that there was so much paraphernalia, merchandise that you could buy. It's a new line of fundraising for. Think about it. Yeah.
Shakespeare-nalia.
Yeah, exactly.
A couple of the other things that we'll be doing on campus as we get closer to the Much Ado About Nothing production, we have community tech days, and that's been really interesting. In the past, we've had, I think, even larger organizations like Aetna or places that have Pratt & Whitney, who they're specifically supporters of ours, places that have told some of their staff and professionals about what we're doing, and that if they have skills that they want to lend, come out on a Saturday, work under the guidance of our technical director and set designer, and do things, whether it's painting or using a power drill and helping put some set pieces together, or dyeing fabric with the properties designer, that those are things that we try to make available. And I remember, we did a little bit of this at one point, and had, somebody, I think, who worked at Pratt & Whitney, who came out with his 13-year-old daughter, and, it's an interesting way to, again, for the larger community, and ideally this year the Middlesex community, to be able to come in and be a part of things, share their skills, and get a bird's eye view into how this theater making happens. So we're really hoping that we'll get some people from the Middlesex college community to come out during some of these tech days, and then also something that is we've never done before, but we're looking at having a couple of open rehearsals for Much Ado About Nothing. So again, it's a professional company that works from May through July to have this performance ready, and we're looking at inviting the community in to witness some segments of rehearsal, just to sit in and watch and see again how this is done.
Well, we need to take a break, and we'll be right back, and we've got lots more to talk about. Well, welcome back. We're in the last segment of our show on Shakespeare on campus with Marcella and Dick, and we want to make sure we talk about the huge number of things that you've organized to do Shakespeare on campus. This is not like just a play.
One of the things that we'll be doing this summer that's open to the public, it's part of the Middlesex curriculum, but it's part of the continuing education curriculum, so the non-credit courses, is a 3-part class on Saturdays in June called Much Ado About Something. And it's basically a way to introduce people to the play, to Much Ado About Nothing, because we get that feedback from some years. It's like, I wish you did the class before so I knew more about the play and understood it more. So we're trying to do that this year. It'll be 3 Saturdays. People can take either just one or all 3. And one of them is going to focus on the language and the verse and the kind of the language inherent in the piece. And actually this play has a lot of prose as opposed to some Shakespeare plays which are much versier. The second one will focus on the story and the characters. And the third one will focus on our production. So we'll bring in some of the designers, the sound designer, set designer, musical director to talk with people about what kind of choices we made, how those choices are made, how it serves the play. So it'll be interesting. So it's a chance for people who want to kind of immerse themselves a little more and really get a lot out of the production to learn about Shakespeare and learn about how a play is produced.
I love that idea. So let's go back to the language. Are there phrases that spring to mind in Much Ado About Nothing that most people will know?
Off the cuff would say it's not one of the plays that I think of where there are these famous quotes, we know to be or not to be, no matter whether we've read the play or not. We, as a culture, it's in our consciousness. I think with Much Ado About Nothing, there are, if you've studied the play, there are certain speeches, Benedict is, he kind of talks to himself a bit, but I think it's really about the relationship and the dynamic of the relationship. I think a lot of time, even if you read criticism about the play, they use Beatrice and Benedict in the same sentence. They'll say you can't really even do a character analysis of one without looking at the other, because it's the whole nature of the relationship. So I feel like versus some of these more, Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, some of these things that again, that we just resonantly, inherently seem to know by the time we come out of high school. Again, I just feel like the heart of it is the dynamic and the relationship. There's also a bad guy in this play.
What's his name?
Don John. He's the brother of Don Pedro.
The illegitimate brother, of
illegitimate,
course.
right. Who had led a rebel, sort of the beginning of the play, as sort of this brother, this dark illegitimate brother has led a rebellion against his brother Don Pedro, and this is sort of before the play starts, and the Don Pedro has taken his brother in and forgiven him, but we find out that's maybe not the best choice. Even though it's a comedy, there is some, I think that's one of the things, again, that's so interesting about Shakespeare and why we're hoping to bring the Middlesex Community College community together around this and the larger community to the college, is that these stories, the plots, the character circumstances, the choices they make, they allow us to reflect. They allow us to reflect on good and bad. They allow us to reflect on our ethics, our moral compass. They give us the opportunity to say, ooh, that's exciting, ooh, that's wrong. Or, oh, I felt that. I know ambition. I've done that. Or, wow, that's an ethical choice. That was a good thing. That it allows us to have the opportunity to reflect, I think, on ourselves and on societies.
And I do think that, in terms of Much Ado specifically, it is very much about being a member of society, and particularly of a small community. It all takes place in Messina, Italy, and you've got these different levels. You've got kind of the count, you've got the mayor, And then you've got characters like this interesting character, Dogberry, who's kind of the local constable. He's like the cop in town, but he just mangles the English language in everything he says. He's just all this misuse of words, which is hysterical. I mean, the language, it's the type of character who can steal the show if he is just like, stupid enough to pull this off. And of course he plays a really important role in salvaging the plot, where Don John is doing these deeds that are making the bad things happen. Dogberry ends up, kind of through his innocent wanting justice, making the happy ending come about eventually, and the double marriage and things that you need at the end of a Shakespeare comedy.
So the double marriage. So it's not just Beatrice and Benedict.
There's Hero and Claudio. And it's there again, it's controversial, the play, in some ways, because there is a character, Hero, who is falsely accused of infidelity. As is often the case in Shakespeare, it's often falsely accused by a jealous male. I'm just saying.
And Don John is the one who incites that false accusation.
That's right. And part of the controversy is that Hero's betrothed, thinks that she's, been unfaithful, and at the altar accuses her of this and, slanders her name, and she apparently dies, but she doesn't really die. She's just held, quietly until her name is cleared.
Don't give away the whole plot.
Okay. Well, but at the same time, it's good to know sometimes, because it seems Shakespeare can seem intimidating, and it's not. They're people who are in circumstances making choices, and they just happen to have been written with delicious language.
There's almost nothing more to say.
Oh.
Except everybody should come to as many of these things as they can, including swinging a hammer or a paintbrush for the tech sessions.
Absolutely.
And you have a website. You must have a website.
We do. It's www.art-farm.org. So it's hyphenated Artfarm, art-farm.org. I should probably mention that this whole Shakespeare on Campus initiative is made possible because we got a grant that we wrote together, Artfarm and Middlesex Community College, from the Connecticut Department of Economic Development, Connecticut Office of the Arts.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah, that was great, and that's really allowed us to expand from just doing the production to really having this sort of 6-month immersion in Shakespeare.
So in my imagination, the word farm and Artfarm is cultivating the arts?
That's right. Our mission is that Artfarm cultivates high-quality theater with a commitment to simple living, environmental sustainability, and social justice.
So how perfect is this to be doing, so many things, but outdoor theater too, because you really are taking advantage of the landscape in a way that you don't need to alter some of it. What you were saying about the sunsets that people see, so the larger world is part of the stage as well as the stage you create.
I think we had a funny, I think it was in 12th Night, which is maybe 2009, something like that. There was a flock of geese that flew over the audience every night of the performance, and the members of our orchestra, we have a live band that plays for the plays, they would keep track every night of where they were in the script,
in the score,
and would watch it move 30 seconds forward every evening. So there was this interesting natural phenomenon that was taking place that that they were marking, and would always happen in the middle of my scene. Usually they would come out there, and I was
were they honking?
They were honking as I was being Sir Toby Belch, and they were honking in approval.
But you can. That migration pattern is a way you can mark the movement of the earth, right? Yeah, the changing of the seasons.
And that is in Shakespeare.
Yes, exactly.
There's so much in the world that he wrote about.
Yeah, how did you pick the last week in July? Or second, you have 2 last weekends, right?
We have 2 weekends, the 18th to the 28th of July. So we perform Thursdays to Sundays, both of those weekends.
Because I've been to these productions since I've been here, and it's hot.
Oh,
right.
You picked a hot time. But has it ever rained?
Yes.
Yeah, we've had some rain, and a few years ago we started having an indoor location rather than canceling on rain nights, which has been great. We've been able to move indoors in Chapman Hall and perform there, and it's a different experience. I think 2 or 3 times we've had to go indoors, and it's interesting. This is much more intimate for the audience.
So this has been the Middlesex Moments radio show, and today, again, I've been visiting with Marcella Trowbridge and Dick Wheeler from Artfarm, and it's just such a delight to have you here, and I'm so grateful to you for bringing Shakespeare to this campus.
Yeah, thank you, Anna. You're really also at the heart of facilitating and enabling this. So thanks so much for all you're doing here at the college.
Okay, well, collectively, we're going to welcome everybody who hears this radio show
Yay.
to come to some part or all of the Shakespeare events that you're orchestrating for us on campus. So I'm going to close off by wishing people a good day and suggesting that if you want to learn more about Middlesex, you can always find us at our website, which is mxcc.edu.